Welcome to the Pat White Show. Well, if you've been watching the TV or listening to various radio stations in town, you've probably heard the story about one entity fighting another entity. City against the Fort Wayne Firefighters Union. Well, that's the battle that's going on, but you've got to understand something. Why this is going on? Well, it's simple. You see, around the United States, state laws vary whether firefighters can bargain with the community or bargain with the organization, or have state laws that said you can do this, you can't do that. Turns out there are 6 states in the United States that there are no state laws. So local communities, the Fort Wayne City, can negotiate directly with the fire department union because there's 6 states that allow that, and we're one of those states. So that's why you see the bargaining going on. That's why you see the fighting going on. We want this. We're concerned about that. This and that. That's what they're all doing. Now, you're going to see the fire department folks, the head of their union, talking on to them on TV, on radio, and that's fine. That's what they're entitled to do. You're also going to see the city and the mayor talking on radio and TV. Here's what we're doing. And they're fighting over the fire chief, because somebody has to be the good guy and the bad guy in these organization fights that are going on, these negotiations that are going on. And the only person they can go after is the chief of the fire department, the fire chief. He's a bad guy. We don't like what he's doing. We don't like what he says. We don't like that he's mandating this, that, and the other. This is the way the fight works. So that's what's going on. They are fighting over a new contract. Now, here's the thing. You see what the head of the firefighters union is saying. Well, we want this. We don't have enough personnel. We're not having enough guys manning the vehicles. We have this. We have that. We want people to be 1 year. They need more time off if they're injured. All those things are being fought out because they're in the contract. Fire department people, they want one thing. The union, they want something else. So they battle it out. And they battle it out in public because they're allowed to do it. So it doesn't matter what side you're on, just understand what's going on. This is a fight between the union and the city. Now, here's the deal. Are you in danger? Well, as it turns out, they've been timing response times. When they get an emergency notice, they get to your house. Well, back in 2023, and that's about 2-3 years ago, the time was 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Then back in 2024, 1 year ago, it went up to 3 minutes and 20 seconds. 2025 has dropped down to 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Now, the union said, well, we don't have enough guys on the unit. We have to have 4 guys on a unit. Now, the contract says they can go down to 3 guys in emergency, or there's other things they can do. Taking units out of service is what they call it, because you don't have enough guys. Once again, contract says one thing, the union wants something else. Fine, that's what they do. As far as being sick and injured, a firefighter gets hurt. Well, right now the current contract says the city will pay for it up to a year. Apparently the city wants to knock it back to 9 months or 6 months. And obviously the union wants to get it longer than a year. Whatever it is, they'll work it out. So, and the latest thing is not enough firefighters. The union says you're only having 1 class a year. And those firefighters, by the time they come out, hit the road, get to their departments, wherever they're working, other firefighters, longtime firefighters, have retired. So you get new guys coming in, but you got retirements, and so the number is still not going up. So I think what the union is now saying, I want 2 firefighter classes a year rather than 1. Well, if you do 2 a year, someone's got to pay for that. And that someone is the taxpayer of Fort Wayne, Allen County. That's you and me. So if the firefighters the union one gets what they want, more classes, more people in there, that's more money that's got to be spent, and it's got to come from someplace. The only someplace it can come from is taxes, or else cutting some of the department back. And I suppose they can do that too. So I'm just telling you what's going on. You can be on whosever side you choose to be. That's your call. But I am telling you, Indiana is one of those states that allows the bargaining to go on between the locality, the city, and between the union. That's allowed. That's why you're seeing the give and take, the yin and yang. I'm on this side, I'm on that side, whatever it is. Understand, they're fighting over a new contract, and they're trying to get enough people on their side to give them what they want. But just remember, ultimately, someone's going to pay for this, and that someone is always the taxpayer. Just saying. Well, the federal government has just authorized the newest federal detention center down in the state of Florida. Now, it's down in South Florida, and it's west of Miami. Now, frankly, it's out in the middle of the Everglades. It's a runway that was originally designed for the big supersonic Concorde type aircraft. They thought they would turn this into the largest terminal sort of in the U.S. when the Concordes were flying. Well, we know what happened to the Concordes. They don't fly anymore. But the runway is still there, and it's used by the Air Force and Navy and everybody else to practice their approaches and landings and what have you. But it still exists. Well, the state of Florida and Ron DeSantis, the governor, decided to offer it up as a federal temporary detention center. And sure enough, the federal government said, yeah, let's do it. It's called Alligator Alcatraz. And you can see the pictures of what it looks like and what they're creating. It is a federal detention center for, well, criminals, alien criminals who are in the United States. You have to remember, countries like Venezuela and Guatemala and a whole bunch of other countries down south decided to empty out their prisons and send them to the United States. Took all the bad people in the prison and said, hey, you want to be free? Run up the United States and live off of them. Well, they figure there's about 600,000 people in that category. Well, they've got to get back to their home countries or put them someplace. So they have decided to build the Alligator Alcatraz. Now, a lot of people were upset about it. The environmentalists said, oh my God, we can't do that. Saving the Everglades, yada, yada, yada. You're here at all. But for the prisoners in there, this is not a brick and mortar place. This is not giant bricks and stone and everything else. These are essentially tents and wire, chain link fence, those kind of things. Because if you get out, the only way you're going to get yourself to freedom is go through the Everglades. And I don't know about you, but there's things in that water I ain't getting into. Snakes, alligators, crocodiles, you name it. The waters in the Everglades have it. And your chance of surviving, if you manage to get away from one of these prison encampments, is slim and none, and slim left town. Now, this all came from Florida. Ron DeSantis used his hurricane stuff to provide this for the federal government. The federal government is going to pay Florida back so we can house these people. And they will be housed until they are deported from the country. And that's what the president said he was going to do. The illegals here that don't belong here, they don't belong here. Put them back where they belong. And right now, a detention center like this is going to be where they're going to be. Now, a lot of shirts have cropped up. You've seen them. I went to the Alligator Alcatraz. All I got was this crummy shirt. Those kind of various shirts are popping up. And people are going to be selling those and either mocking or agreeing with or whatever it is, happen to be with the situation. But this facility is not permanent, folks. It is temporary. You get the people, you put them down there until we put them on planes and send them to wherever we're going to send them. Now, many countries, believe it or not, say, we don't want these people back. Fine. You don't want them back in your country? We'll send them someplace else. The truth of the matter is, they don't belong in the United States. They are illegal. They are criminals. And they need to be detained and deported. And that's exactly what we're doing. So, utilizing this new facility in the Everglades of Florida, it's going to work just dandy. And if anybody tries to get away, there's animals out there going, hello, waiting for you to show up. Lunch. Just saying. Now you know what's going on. You may not like it, but bad people are out there. Our job and the government's job is to get them away from you, your family, and America, because they don't belong in this country. Just saying, those are the words from the government. Live by them or face the consequences. If you're a member of the baby boomers generation or possibly a Generation Xer, you might want to listen up. So, do you remember years ago when you were young, either a young parent or a young kid, of going to a place called Chuckie Cheese? Yeah, that's right, Chuckie Cheese, the home of the animatronics, those rats, running around, and of course you remember all the different games they had. If you wanted to get your kid exposed to about every childhood illness you could find, take them to Chuck E. Cheese. The chances are they were going to come down with about everything, especially in that big ball thing. There's all the giant box of balls they just climbed through and you couldn't find. Heck, I saw a version of that on the Big Bang Theory, for crying out loud. But Chuck E. Cheese. And then you were trying to play all those games to get points. Remember those tickets you would get that would come out of the machine? And then at the end of the night, you go over to their prize gallery, try to pick up something that kids were never going to use, but they got a little prize to take home. But the worst part, at least to me, was taking my kids there to get a pizza. I've had pizzas that tasted better than a hockey puck. You talk about flat and dry, those were Chuck E. Cheese pizzas. But boy, the kids loved them. And then the show would begin, the audio animatronics and the music and the sound and everything else. Kids loved it. That was Chuck E. Cheese. Well, guess what? Chuck E. Cheese is coming back, but not the way you think. How about Chucky's Arcade? They're bringing back Chuck E. Cheese as an adult bar. That's right, an adult cavalcade for those of us who remember the Chuck E. Cheese back in the old days, or the young kids back then that are now adults themselves, where they could go to an adults-only place, play all sorts of cool games, exotic games, all the games they remember as a kid, Donkey Kong and whatever else games they played. Sit there and have the alcoholic beverages and look at the rat running around or whatever they call them. And they're opening all around the United States. There's 10 locations opening up from coast to coast. One of them happens to be in my hometown of El Paso, Texas. I'm sure my friends will probably be there at this bar, adult place, because they figure it's going to be novelty. They figure the young folks are going to come there. The older folks are going to remember the Chuck E. Cheese. Well, here's now the Chuck's Arcade, all the games to play, all the things you can win, prizes you can win, dumb stuff to retrieve, whatever. They're going to have that. And trying to bring back the old memories back in the old days when you were young. Well, now they're bringing it back for adults. And now when you're old, figuring, there's some cool games there. Chicks are going to want to go there. Guys are going to go there. And it's going to be a bar that everybody's going to want to frequent. Reminds me of the old Dave and Buster's, if you think about it. So that's what's coming, folks. Chuck E. Cheese is morphing into Chuck's Arcade, an adults-only place featuring, adult beverages and hopefully better pizza than they had the original place. Am I interested in going there? Nah, I'm not. I'm old. But then again, my kids, they may think about it. But beyond that, a brand new place for people to go and spend their money, play the games, and, hang around with a rat. Don't know about you, but that's sort of one of the things that's off of my bucket list. Just saying. I want to talk to you parents out there with kids, and I want to talk to you about something maybe you remember from your childhood. Remember the old game of Ding Dong Ditch? Well, did you play it? Yeah, I know I probably did. It was another version of it where you took a paper bag, put dog poop in it, let it on fire on somebody's porch, hit the doorbell, run. Yeah, I did that too. But that was a long time ago. That was years ago, and we were dumb, but we still did it. Well, unfortunately, it has returned, only in a worse way than you could possibly imagine. Two new things going on in the world, and especially on social media. And in particular, I'm talking about TikTok. Because there, people are challenging people to do stupid things. And people on TikTok are going, oh, it's cool. I think I'll do that. And they go out and do it because they want to be cool and want to be accepted into whatever organization is going on. I think it gives them credibility, creds, if you will. Doesn't. Two things they're doing. One is called UrbanX. And the other one, this one you may have a knowledge about. It's called the Door Kick Challenge. Now, here's what happens. These kids will get out with their video camera, and they will go to someone's house in the middle of the night and intentionally kick the door open. forcibly. And I mean with the camera rolling so everybody can see it, so they can post it onto TikTok later on to say, look what I did. Here's the problem with that. One, you can damage a door pretty well if you kick it in like that. You're going to damage the door frame. You're going to damage the door. Who do you think is going to pay for that? You think your insurance is going to cover that? Maybe, maybe not. But worst thing is that kid who thinks they're being cool, thinks they're going to put them up in a high rank in the creds and whatever group they're organized in, they may be facing something they didn't realize because that person on the other side of that door may be armed. Now, a lot of states have stand your ground laws. And the stand your ground laws is you think you're being attacked, you think your life's in danger, you have a right to use deadly force. That's right. And people are doing it. Now, imagine 3 o'clock in the morning, you're up there, maybe you're awake in the middle of the night, you hear something going on outside, and you suddenly say, hey, that don't sound right. And you want a handgun. And you go walking around, take a look around, see what's going on, hear sounds, noises, and suddenly someone tries to kick in your door and does. And you've got a handgun or a shotgun, and you end up pulling the trigger. Someone could get killed, and it could be your kid, somebody else's kid. Now, that happens, it's going to end up in a prosecutor's office, so they're going to have to decide what to do. But the point is, kids are doing this to videotape it, to put it on TikTok because they think it makes them look cool, puts them in a group, and gives them credibility. It doesn't. That's happening. And if you've got kids, you need to tell them, hey, you're thinking about doing this, you're involved with doing this because you think you want to be cool and be on TikTok, could cost you your life. Or worse than that, you get caught, you get your foot in the door. In Ohio, it's actually burglary. You want your kid charged with that? You want your kid to have a record? You think he's going to go anywhere in life with that big felony hanging over his head? Maybe not. That's the one thing going on. Second thing going on, thanks to TikTok, is a thing called Urban X. What is Urban X? Urban X is the thing that people can put on their app, on their TikTok. They can go into places that are abandoned. Let's say an abandoned sports facility or abandoned church or an abandoned school, abandoned house. Take their video, shoot all the video, post it on TikTok or whatever app they're on. Look what I did. Look where I went. Recently, an 18-year-old kid went down to the old Superdome down there in Houston, Texas, decided to go in because it's abandoned, like I said. Shot all video. Wow, look at all the stuff here. Kid has been charged. 18. Got himself a little problem. Maybe he can get out, maybe he can't. I don't know. But that's what's going on because they're being told by people on places, the webs, on the TikTok channels, on the social media, hey, go out and do this. Be cool. You're not. That's what's going on, folks. Pay attention. Talk to your children and say, hey, don't do this. Now, the problem is your children are probably not going to hear you. They're not going to listen to you because they're stuck in their phone. That's the only thing they know. They can't even look around and see what's going on in the world around them because, it's that phone. That's their life. And if that's their life, when someone on TikTok tells them to go out and do something, you know what the chances are? They're probably going to do it. That's the problem we have in today's world. They're being subjected to commands to do things on something that, frankly, is not there to improve their life. It's to destroy it. All I'm doing is telling you this. This is going on in America. This is happening in state by state, and it's happening everywhere. Do yourself a favor. If you can, discuss this with your kids and pray to God they listen to you. Because if they don't, the next person you may be calling is your family attorney to see about getting your kid out of jail. Just something to think about. One of the things that most Americans seem to love to do, at least in previous years, was to go to Las Vegas. Whether you got married and took your honeymoon to Las Vegas or celebrated an event or even attended a convention, like the SHOT Show or CES or any of those particular shows, well, Vegas was the place they had the shows because Vegas had so much going on. nightlife, gambling, you name it. Vegas had it all going on. But tell you the truth, things are not looking good for Las Vegas right now. As a matter of fact, this is their 5th month down revenue, 5 months in a row. Vegas is starting to hurt a little bit. Visitors are down 6.5% from last year. That's about 3.4 million showed up in Las Vegas. That hurts, folks. The room rates, well, of course, if you don't have people showing up, the room rates go down. Room rates are down like 22%. Occupancy rates in the rooms are down like 3.1%. And the air traffic into Harry Reid International, air traffic into there has dropped down to nearly 4% from what it was the previous month. This is in a month. Las Vegas is having a problem. People don't want to go to Las Vegas. And why? Economic uncertainty. Let's be honest, that's what it is. Now, some parts of Nevada are getting, pretty good showing up. Laughlin up there, they're getting a pretty good deal. They're going up. But overall, in the entire state of Nevada, gambling is declining. The state takes in money from the gambling. Right now, they've done about $990 million, just short of $1 billion to their budget. But things are declining in Nevada. People aren't going to Las Vegas. Why? Well, like I said, economic uncertainty is certainly one thing. But here's something else. People are saying, well, if I'm going to go gamble, why not go gamble at casinos in my area? Because casinos are showing up, well, virtually every city around the United States. They're getting their casinos. And they're building some pretty nice ones. The Indian casinos on the reservations, some of those are the fanciest, coolest, nicest, most elegant casinos you could see. And you don't have to go and jump on an airliner and fly out to Vegas to see it. You just drive to those casinos. Here in Indiana and Michigan, plenty of casinos. Casinos are in downtown of major cities. And they're building them up in Florida. The Indian reservations, they're all getting their casinos. Because, well, they probably deserve it, folks. Let's be honest. Now, if you think about it this way, you go to Vegas, the room rates are down, obviously. And as in 2025, here's the average room rate in all of Las Vegas, $198.20. I don't know about you, but if I got to spend $128 or $200 for one night, I'm thinking about going somewhere else. The downtown, the rates have dropped 12.4%. And on the Strip, well, those are down around 5%. Fewer people are going to start cutting their rates. Laughlin, Nevada, they're up about 11%. But overall, the state of Nevada is losing money. And that's part of their state budget. Without that in their state budget, they're going to have to find money someplace else. But right now, more and more people are saying, I think I'll go to a casino in my local area, or I won't go to a casino at all. Maybe go to a basketball game, maybe go to a football game, maybe find another hobby that they got a better chance of coming out better. In Vegas, you don't. Vegas, the odds are you're going to lose. And the odds are you're going to lose. And you do. So just so you know, if you're planning on going to Las Vegas, yeah, the rooms might be cheaper, flights might be cheaper, but you're still going to lose money. Think about it. Vegas is going down, and economic uncertainty seems to be the key in their demise. Just saying. And now you know what's going on in the happy land of Las Vegas. If you're one of those people that work in a factory floor, or maybe a very repetitive job where you keep doing the same thing over and over and over every single day, well, there might be something coming that you're not going to like. It seems that robots are starting to take things real serious. There's a new robot out there called Aeon. Aeon stands about 5'9", and it looks like a robot, but things really changed from that point on, because this robot is extremely adaptive. This robot is extremely versatile. And what this robot does, it learns. And it keeps learning. And it keeps feeding the data that it learns to a software system that builds the next robot. So everything one robot learns, it's feeding into the brain, if you will, of an upcoming robot. And the more they learn, the more they pass on. So when a new robot comes along to replace the current one, it already knows everything the previous robot knew and can adapt even more quickly to the surroundings. These are big when it comes to factories, places where people have to do the same repetitive task over and over and over again, or inspecting things, or lifting things, or changing things. And here's the one thing about Aeon that is really interesting. Robots have batteries, right? Because they're powered by batteries. Well, this particular robot knows to change its battery when it knows it needs it. Goes over, gets a new battery, plugs it in, and it keeps going. Which means this robot can work 24 hours a day. Doesn't take breaks, doesn't do anything like that. It just keeps working and working and working and learning about its environment, learning everything that's going on around it. So it sees everything that's happening and plugs that data into a storage facility, if you will. And that storage facility goes into the next robot, who comes out of wherever they come out from, knowing everything the other robot did and does. We're moving in that direction, folks. It may not make you happy, and I don't think it'll make most people happy, but the problem is that it's going to affect people in the workplace. Now, these are factories, factory robots. They can do everything on the floor. We'll be able to do everything on the floor that humans can do, and probably even more. Never take a break, never complain about anything, never get sick. And they're always there. And you're going to see corporations and businesses say, yeah, that's what we're going to work with. We can work them 24 hours a day. They don't go on strike. They don't request pay. They just keep doing what they do. And these are coming from some big companies out there like NVIDIA, creating all the brains for the computers, for the robots. Also, Microsoft's Azure. And so they have a lot of different parts that go into it, but all these companies work together putting these robots out. Like I said, the robot stands 5'9". It's not tiny. And it can do everything and learn everything. And how big it will get, no one really knows. But how industrious it could become once it learns everything. You know, if you remember a movie back in the old days, they talked about robots and what robots could do. That was everything with conjectured future back in the old days. They talked about what robots could do. But there was a robot in one particular movie called Hal, and that was his name. And he was out in space, and an astronaut wanted to get back into the capsule, but Hal wouldn't let him do it. You might remember the movie. Hal was fictional back then. Hal is not going to be fictional very soon. And if you remember the old TV show back in the 60s called The Jetsons, where robots were everywhere and smart, looks like they're headed our way too. And the future is catching up with us in a big way. So these new Aeon robots, you work on a factory, your days could be numbered. Maybe not in the near future, but definitely in the future, because they're figuring out how to work, how to fix everything, how to adapt everything, and how to change their own batteries. And not once do they complain or demand or go on strike. Batteries, optional, right? But robots, they never stop, they never quit, and they never ask for a raise. Get ready, America. That may be the future, and we may not like what we're about to see. Well, for most folks, the 4th of July was a big event here in the city. I mean, people were out having a good time. The weather was perfect. You couldn't ask for a better day. Some folks went up to the lake, and that's what people do in this part of the state. And if you're a big Chicago Cubs fan, you want to see the Cubs play and hit, 8 home runs? All right, it's a great 4th of July. And, of course, then 4th of July evening, 10 o'clock, the fireworks. Right off the top of the I&M building, a glorious display of fireworks. Some great photos were taken. And you know what? All in all, it was a pretty doggone good day until around midnight. Then things went from good to tragic. 4 young teens between the ages of 15 and 18, 15 and 18-year-old kids were shot. That's right, shot. Right there at the intersection of Pearl and Harrison, right downtown Fort Wayne, by the old Wholesome Bakery, Bradley, over that area. That's a nice area downtown. We're trying to get people to go to walking around, enjoy themselves. More and more people are moving downtown. That's fine. But if you can't walk around the streets of downtown without being afraid you're going to be shot, then why live downtown? These 4 kids, 1 kid died. Took him to the hospital. He didn't make it. Other kids are in the hospital. And the police, when they arrived on the scene, found multiple firearms. Now, someone explained to me what kids between the ages of 15 and 18 are doing with firearms. Where do those firearms come from? Now, police department will be able to take those firearms, track down the serial numbers, and find out who owned them and where they were stolen from, if they were stolen. Or maybe not. Depends if someone took a file and tried to rub those down and clean the guns off where they're not traceable. My guess is they didn't do that. But 15 and 18-year-old kids and a 16-year-old kid is dead. Now, here's the thing. Back when I was a teenager, which is, I believe in the 17th century, they had a thing back then called TV. And every night at 10 o'clock on TV, there was a PSA, a public service announcement came on. It said, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Some stations even repeated it at 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And then some stations even went so far as to take it 1 hour later and go, it's midnight. Do you know where your children are? And every time that question was asked, my parents would say, yeah, they're right here. Because we were. See, that was the thing. It was called a curfew. And I'm wondering if maybe, just maybe, the city of Fort Wayne may have to resort to a curfew for those under the age of 21. I'm not sure if they could do that or not. I'm not sure if the mayor or the city council would want to impose something like that. But the truth of the matter is, you get 4 kids downtown between the ages of 15 and 18, and gunshots break out, and 4 of them are shot. What else are you going to do? You can't put a cop in every corner. I wish you could, but you can't. Police are there to clean up the mess after the mess happens. And to see 4 kids, 15 to 18, and a 6-year-old kid dead, kids shot, handguns found, Pearl and Harrison, downtown Fort Wayne? Give me a break. Now, if somebody knows something, you can call Crime Stoppers at 436-7867. That's 436-7867. Or if you want to call the police department, you can reach 7427-1201. But if you're like a regular person, you can use the app on your phone. You know, that phone app, what everybody has nowadays, because nobody has a regular phone. Everybody has their phone. Cell phone. There's a free app. It's called P3 Tip. Download that. You can do a download and say, yeah, I know who was involved. Look, Crime Stoppers, they're not going to tell anybody. They just want to get the crime off the street, get the bad people off the street. That's what Crime Stoppers does. It's their job. They don't tell. They find out. They get bad people off the street.